So you're wanting to move to Idaho and you're wanting to move out of the city to a rural property on acreage. Now today we're going to talk to Al Vom Steeg, a client of mine who moved from out of state and into the country.
With farming.
And we'll go over the lifestyle and the obstacles and challenges that he's faced living. And he is the last house on grid. Most of the houses around him are off grid, so we'll go into that lifestyle. We'll also talk about his company, Vom Steeg Financial.
Invest!
And some ways that you can gain wealth and grow wealth and also protect your assets as well. So if you want to live out in the country on acreage or off grid and you want to get wealthy, this is a great show for you. Thanks for coming on. So very excited about today, going over not only your journey from California, moving here,
westward the wagons,
but then also living what a lot of people want, that country lifestyle with a million chickens and at the same time making your wife happy and comfortable.
Exactly.
being the thing. And then I also, one of the big things where I got a lot of value was learning about your mortgage protection and then also to grow wealth in a way. And I'm super excited to talk about that. We just talked about it before. So much good information. So welcome to Al Vom Steeg Financial to the podcast. Can you go over kind of your journey here into Idaho?
Sure. Well, first, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
I appreciate everything that Mike has done for us and our family, and
Not all of us are Michael freaking Scott.
helping us with the property that we so much love in North Idaho here. So we moved here during COVID, 2020, from California. Left there for a lot of obvious reasons, but just looking at a place that reminded me of where I spent a lot of time. Spent a lot of time growing up in Lake Tahoe with my grandfather, who was my soulmate.
So you didn't. A lot of people when they hear, "Oh, you moved from California," you moved from LA. And
The marmalade forest between the make-believe trees.
and you're in that city lifestyle, but a lot of people in California like yourself grew up in the mountains. It looked very much like this place.
Yeah. So what's crazy is I used to live in New Mexico a long time ago when I went to college, et cetera. And we actually thought about moving to North Idaho in 1987.
Oh wow!
And didn't. Obviously ended up to California because I'd just gotten in this business and wanted to have obviously more people to market to. But yeah, we moved up here in 2020, and the COVID thing ended up being a benefit because in California we were going to see people in their houses, and now we can do it all over the country with telesales, et cetera.
Yeah, super important because you said you are able to help 3 to 4 times more people, helping kind of a broader amount of audience, I guess, and getting it because this stuff is awesome, and getting it to the most people. And do that through, the telephone. What a great invention.
Alexander Graham Bell.
So can you go a little bit about your kind of your experience, your education and stuff like that, and what led you into your financial company?
Number one rule of Wall Street.
Yeah, sure. So I've been security licensed, insurance licensed for like 35 years, plus or minus. And I worked quite a while with a wirehouse Wall Street firm, Smith Barney, was managing money for retirees and business owners, et cetera. It was successful at that, but it just changed over the years in that it became very regulated. Manipulation by the Fed, it got harder to manage the money.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I decided that I wanted to expand into the insurance, and so I started an insurance agency in around 2018 in California. And then, of course, we moved up here and expanded that whole side. It actually ended up starting out as a side deal alongside the investment business, but it just took off. And so now I focus on that, and I've got like 30 agents all across the country and that I help manage in addition to me doing this.
That's awesome. And that's what really kind of struck me and was what I saw as beneficial is that So you move to Idaho or you move anywhere in the country, and you go through the whole process of owning a home, making the memories with your family, your kids, and then for unforeseen circumstances, spouse passes away, and people look at life insurance, they don't look at it as mortgage protection, because then you don't have the funds or the ability to keep that home.
Right.
You're already on a bad situation, and now you compound that by trying to figure out how you're going to stay in the home. That's super powerful to me.
Well, it's super important. I mean, there's lots of folks that, if you've got a dual income and they've got kids, and the primary asset for most people is their house or property, and their primary largest liability is their mortgage. And so they are really focused on trying to protect that, because if one spouse passes away for whatever reason, does the other spouse have to leave, and or what are we doing with the kids and all that, because they can't afford it. So we market it that way, and we do sell a lot of mortgage protection, which is basically life insurance, and figure out each individual's needs and wants and what they're trying to protect. But if we can at least get the mortgage protection in place, then they're not going to lose their house.
Yeah.
Have to go live with the in-laws.
Would there be ghosts there?
Such a great product. The one thing that's super important, but one thing that really caught my attention was the IULs and the investment vehicles, because investment's a big part of your business as well,
Right.
Financial. Can you go into that and share that statistic about the population? And
Yeah. So I, doing this for a very long time, right? And we know, all of us know, that we're not saving enough money, putting enough acorns away for winter, so to speak, or retirement. And so the bottom line is the math, and the statistics are such: 57% of Americans rely solely on either friends, family, or Social Security as their only source of income. Okay, 22% are still working. Out of that 57%, some would be working, but they're not healthy enough to work. These are all, again, folks at age 65.
65.
Okay, the folks you see at Walmart, they're typically not there because they need something to do. They need the money. Okay, 17% have already passed away by age 65. That leaves a remaining 4% that are financially independent. That means that they do not have to change their standard of living, only 4%. So I'm on a mission to try to teach as many people as I can to, hey, the longer you do it, meaning the younger, the sooner you start, the better.
Time is a tool.
Time, I mean, the compound interest is so, fascinating in and of itself. And so if we can start earlier.
Yeah.
Also, the main thing with the IUL also stands for Index Universal Life, is that money grows tax-free.
Tax-free.
And so we'll have a conversation a lot of times with people, because their typical investment vehicle would be through their employer and like a 401k.
Yeah.
And I'll say, well, okay, so you are participating. Yes. What's the match? 3%. Okay, so their match. Definitely do the 3% because that's free money. But maybe they're contributing 10. And I'll say, well, that's a 7% overage. Maybe we ought to talk about that. Back in the day, 401k's greatest idea ever. You put the money in, it grows tax deferred. The theory was, though, that when you retire, that you were going to be in a lower tax bracket. I don't agree with that anymore. I don't know what you think. Okay, Mike, we kind of talked about this, but there is no way you're going to convince me that taxes are going to do anything but go up. Not with the national debt. The debt to GDP is at 123%. It hasn't been that high since World War II. Okay, I mean, it's crazy. And so let's look at a vehicle that grows tax-free. There's only a couple. One is a Roth IRA, which I can also help with. Okay. The disadvantage there is that you're limited on what you can put in. $7,000 a year. Okay. $8,000 if you're over 50. But there's income restriction. So if you have a successful business, as an individual, you can't make over 150 grand, or 200, and I think it's 36,000 if it's a couple. So you can't even do it. So that brings in the IUL, Index Universal Life. You're not limited on how much you can put in.
No limits.
You're not limited on when you can take it out like a Roth. You have to wait till 59 and a half. It's tied to insurance though, so it's got a death benefit. Okay, but we can structure these plans to where the majority of the premium you pay into it goes towards the cash value and grows tax free.
It's killing two birds with one stone.
Right.
You're protecting and offsetting the risk, and then also building wealth. And the whole fact that, yes, the stock market over long periods of time does appreciate, does gain value. They dips and goes up. But if I'm 65, 70 years old and the stock market dips, I can't afford to take that loss. With this, correct, if the stock market dips, I don't lose any money, correct?
Right. So let's do a quick apple to apple on an investment that's directly invested in the stock market, which could be a Roth, because typically in a Roth you would invest in mutual funds or ETFs, electronically traded funds, and that is directly invested in the stock market. So if the stock market goes up 15% in that sort of investment, you make 15. If the stock market goes down 15%, you lose 15. That's just the way it works, right? In an index universal life, it's linked to the market, so it's not directly invested. What does that mean? That means if the stock market goes up 15, then you're going to get a portion of that. Could be somewhere between 10 and 12%. So the majority of the upside. But on the downside, if the stock market goes down in an index universal life, there's a zero floor. You don't lose any money.
That's awesome. And
Average rates of return are probably going to be somewhere between 5 and 7. So pretty good. Now you take a typical investment that's invested in the market, and if you have to pay taxes on any other investment, either you're going to pay capital gains or you're going to pay ordinary income on dividends or whatever the case may be. This is not the case. You're not going to pay any taxes on it.
Yeah. And you said something that was very fascinating about being able to take money out of it. There's no, like you said, no restrictions on when you could take it out, which and pretty much loaning it to yourself if you need a new, a truck or your air conditioning went out. So it's kind of an extra safety net in addition to an investment vehicle. It's like a three things to benefit that I see.
Right. So people will also use this as their private bank. Okay. So if you let's say you have a business, let's say you're a plumber and you've got a crew with some trucks. Instead of buying a new truck and borrowing the money from the dealership and their source, you just borrow the money out of your own source and you borrow it from yourself and just pay cash for the truck or whatever the case may be. That's how private banking sort of works.
That's awesome.
But again, you're not restricted to some age or or timetable that you can take money out once the cash value builds up. It could be an emergency, it could be investment property, it could be college education. We help a ton of these plans are awesome for kids that are young. An alternative would be like a 529 plan that people are the college educational plan. Okay. And they'll utilize that and say for college, right?
Yeah.
Which is great. But let's say your kid grows up and he's an entrepreneur and he starts his own company. He doesn't go to college.
College sucks. It's stupid.
You can't use those funds for that because it has to be used for higher education. This is a better, in my opinion, a suitable alternative to that plan because you can use it for whatever you want.
And that IUL is associated with the child.
Right.
That's the child's IUL.
Correct. So the parent, while they're a minor, would be the owner of the policy, okay, but then the child would be the insured. And then once they become age, then you can change those around, and theoretically the child will start making payments on the premium once he gets of age.
Yeah. Super eye-opening for me because I had no idea this even existed. And then the other one that we talked about, for people, business owners, because I have a lot of people on the show that are business owners here in town, and talking about the to where, say you have two partners in a business and they have their spouses and one accidentally passes away. There's a product that you can have to where you can be able to buy out the spouse and not have that extra burden. So
right. So that would basically be a key man policy. So we do a lot of that, and we can do big ones too, like multi-million dollars. Let's say you've got a big business that's 10, 20, 100 million. Doesn't matter. We can get insurance for that. Well, let's just keep it super simple. Let's say you have business partner A, business partner B. They have spouses. Okay, let's just use $10 million. So we might want it. So the business is worth 10. Each partner's valuation is 5 million. So maybe we want to put 5 million on each partner, right? Then if one of them passes away, I mean the spouse is going to say, okay, my husband passed away. Where's my part of the business?
It could ruin the business.
Yeah, it could totally screw it up. Yeah. So then that would be in position to pay out or buy out the partner. So we do a lot of that stuff. Yeah.
And I'll put all your contact information, business links in there so people can get more detail. I'd like to kind of segue into, go into your journey from California to here, how it was like during COVID.
Yeah.
During when you moved to North Idaho and living in a rural, like you were telling me you helped your neighbor truck in water because they're having water issues. So I think it'd be important for a lot of people that are thinking of moving here to know what it's like to move here from so far away, and then deal with obstacles in living rural. Because a lot of people want to live rural, and I don't know if that is necessarily the best thing for everyone.
Right. Right. So I have in New Mexico, I lived out in the country. In California, I lived up in the mountains. 90 miles east of LA, up in the mountains. So I'm very savvy with the snow. Snow, I've got an ATV with a plow on it. So I'm pretty seasoned with that.
Yeah.
I think one of the huge things here is that the guys always want a piece of property with a creek on it and lots of wild game, right? Which is awesome, which I have. We've got creeks on both sides.
And that's why we get along so well.
Yeah, right?
Exactly. Addicted to the outdoors.
Yeah, I'm an avid outdoorsman and all that. But there's experiences, there's things you have to do around the homestead. It's a homestead. We have 10 acres. We have chickens. We have a large garden, and we have 2 orchards.
So beautiful.
So, it's 2 seasonal creeks. So the creeks run most of the year. But yeah, you've got to prepare when it freezes. You've got to take care of the chickens, and all that. We're getting, lots of eggs a day, which is awesome. And just, my wife's out there this year. I mean, the learning curve and just preparing for the garden and what you had to do to put it away. We now have a greenhouse so we can start things early. We're also very fortunate because I'm backed up to 3,000 acres of timber.
Everyone always asks me. They want that. They want that and it's.
Yeah, it's awesome because I had Mike come up, and there's only a few families that have access to it, and there's deer and a few elk and lots of moose and turkeys and mountain lions and all that stuff up there. So I mean, we go up there and hardly ever see anybody. So that part's way cool. But it's about helping the neighbors too. Our place doesn't have the best water situation, so we're developing the water. And I had to help a neighbor. So we're the last house on grid, which means we're on electricity. Everybody up above us is off grid, so that means they have batteries and solar. Whole different ballgame.
I look at it as it's a great lifestyle, but I almost look at it that it's a whole nother full-time job with overtime.
100%. I mean, it's already extra work that we have around our place, even in the winter, whether it's just shoveling snow or moving the snow. And if we have a strong winter, my wife's like, well, why are you pushing all the snow way over there? I said, well, what if we get another 3 feet? I got to have a place to put it. Things like that that you don't know.
Plan
if you
ahead,
come from Southern California, you don't know how all this stuff. If we didn't have the ATV and the snowplow, couldn't do it. I have a truck that's got 400,000 miles on it, and it's like a tractor, and I can go anywhere in it. So the neighbor the other day, first time he's been there 10 years, first time ever he's needed to get water in the winter.
Yeah.
And so his truck was out, so we used my truck, put the tank on, had to go haul some water, and fortunately my truck's 4-wheel drive, and I was able to get him some water for right now. But that's what neighbors do, is they help each other out too.
That's cool. I live vicariously through you on that your country lifestyle and the chickens and stuff like that, and super happy for you guys, and really appreciate you coming on the podcast, the show, and going over these things that you help people, help families on a daily basis, and these stories that I wish we could have shared. We just haven't enough time on all these people that you've helped. If it's a business owner and they need help protecting risk and that, or mortgage protection, or if they just want to grow wealth in a tax-free way and be able to pull money out and be their own bank and give them that sense of power and combat inflation and all these other things. So I appreciate you going over those things, and
Absolutely.
highly encourage people to give you a call, give you an email, and go into more detail and see if it is a good fit for them. And if not, you're the nicest guy in the world. You're not. That's what's so great is you're not pushing sales on people and what stuff they don't need. Because I've heard time and time again, if you're talking about people you've helped, you say, well, they come and want this product. And you say, well, that might not be the best solution for you. What about that? You really care about. It seems like you really care about your clients, and that means a lot. So I appreciate you coming and sharing that.
No, and I appreciate you having me on, and our relationship has been awesome. I was very fortunate to have you and your wife Leslia help us, and Tracy, my wife, is good friends with her also, and so yeah, it's been wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, have a great day, and look forward to learning more on your animals that are above your property.
Yeah, for sure. We'll have you back for sure.
Awesome. Well,
All right,
thanks
buddy.
for coming on.